All right, so we're back, part 2 of covering AEW Full Gear 2021, as we finished off in the last episode, starting off with Christian Cage and the Jurassic Express versus the Super Click in a Falls Count Anywhere match.
I have to say this right away. Christian looks incredible. Like he's just in incredible shape, and you know what's funny? Everybody in that match, short of Luchasaurus, is just so small, and Christian's like a giant amongst men.
Yeah, it is crazy to believe how much great work guys like Christian, Edge, Punk, Brian, all these guys, Cena and Orton, throw them in there as well, who are well into their 40s and are still throwing on just great matches, great performances, doing great work,
Agreed. And this is what kind of match is it, Jack? It's a
Falls Count Anywhere.
Falls Count Anywhere. And sort of in line with the wrestling tradition, Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy, and Christian Cage all have matching gear. What are they wearing, Jack?
They come out wearing jeans because that is the style of extreme type matches.
Yeah, it's gonna get real.
Yeah, and it was funny because I saw someone bring up, I thought jeans were reserved for street fights, and that's when someone says, look at this match and tell me what is the difference between this being a street fight and not being a street fight, other than the fact that the pinfalls could happen anywhere.
Shout out, and that's the case for street fights, but shout out to that commenter for making such an astute point.
Yeah, but where do we even begin with this match?
Well, Jack, I suppose we should just sort of think about which spots, kind of stand out to you. Which ones leap in front of you in your memory?
I gotta immediately shout out that Adam Cole gets busted up, like, I want to say almost 10, 15 minutes, or maybe even less minutes into the match. And he immediately had, like, the full, essentially, crimson mask on him.
Agreed. Yeah, no, that was intense. Yeah, he gets really thrown around in this match.
Yeah, he was taking. I think someone mentioned it too. That, like, he took a majority of the offense, and, like, it was surprising to see that.
In no particular order, he gets choke slammed onto the ladder. He gets Hurricane Rana into a table. Gosh, and he lives to tell the tale.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think he might have got speared on the stage.
I think so.
Yeah, he got his head busted open on the steps, and then obviously the moment you gotta shout out is Christian and the Bucks all getting to the crowd.
Oh yeah. This Falls Count Anywhere's match really lived up to its name because you saw Luchasaurus. I don't know if I recall the Super Elite really making any or all pin attempts.
Actually, I don't think they might have hit like one or two, but I don't ever recall them getting a pin attempt, actually.
But there you see them in the rafters, in the high rises. Christian leaps off of one level of seats into another and immediately pins the guys he fell on top of. I don't know, there was something really kind of smart about that. I'm like, yes, go for the pin right away. And so, to no avail, they kick out at 2. But, I often find myself forgetting, this could end anywhere.
Yeah, and it was just so funny. That's the one thing I always give the Bucks is they're really good at expressions, and like when Christian is just beating down one of the Bucks down the stairs so they can get back to the ring, there's countless camera shots of him turning around in fear, is this guy still following me? And as soon as he turns around, gets punched and keeps having to go down the stairs.
I saw that. Yeah.
Oh, and then the spot to definitely bring up is the thumbtacks get brought out, and instead of someone getting choke slammed onto them, maybe getting super kicked with a boot with thumbtacks, no, they grab the thumbtacks. Adam Cole has Jungle Boy in I want to say a camel clutch essentially, and they shove them into his mouth. They do the classic thing where the Bucks run around and then they give a kiss to Adam Cole on the cheek, and then they super kick Jungle Boy with his mouth full of thumbtacks.
Yeah, and it's so funny how the Young Bucks are slowly becoming the thumbtacks people. You know what I mean? Like, there are a lot of weapons that are synonymous with a wrestler. You know, the sledgehammer, the urn. You know, thumbtacks. They kind of are slowly becoming the Bucks thing, and it's not even the only time, Jack, they appear in this unending match, is it?
Nope. Because there's also the spot where they're on the stage and Adam Cole pulls out a bag and it's thumbtack-covered knee braces.
Stupid. And they're gonna V-trigger, knee Luchasaurus in the face from 3 directions, but those knees are gonna have thumbtacks to them.
Yeah, and I say knee braces in quotation because that really just looked like a piece of cloth that had thumbtacks glued onto them. It didn't look thick enough.
Not a knee pad, but like a knee sleeve.
Yeah, and there was just so much, and then finally there's the spot where a couple people get thrown off the stage, and then you get Luchasaurus doing the moonsault off the stage onto the people down below.
Was it a moonsault or was it a...
Oh, no, it was a shooting star press.
Yes, it was.
Even more impressive is doing that shooting star press down to the people below. And then that's when I think one of the Bucks gets speared by Christian, and that's when they set up the concerto. And earlier in the match, they tried to do the concerto, but Jungle Boy hesitates. But to finish the match, he pushes, or not pushes, but he looks at Christian and says, "Hey, let me do it this time since the other time I took too long." Hits it, 1, 2, 3, end of the match.
Yep. The match, by the way, Jack, only because I pulled up the Wikipedia, was 22 minutes long. And get this. Danielson versus Miro was 20 minutes. And MJF versus Darby Allin was 22 minutes.
Yeah, so really long matches so far in the night, but they all kind of benefited from getting that time.
This one, I agree with you, though, could have been made shorter, if only because there were so many devastating moves that could have ended the match and that didn't end the match.
Yeah, definitely felt that way a lot. And, it was still really great match. Obviously, with the people involved, you knew it was going to be a crazy spot fest, but still have elements of story sprinkled into it, as we saw with the finish of the match.
And I'm going to bring this match up when we talk about the other street fight. But I will reserve what I have to say there for when we get there.
Yeah, same. And then next, if I'm going to be honest, even just looking at the people involved, though people might disagree, I'm going to be honest and say the next match could have been a main event on Dynamite or Rampage.
Ooh, shots fired. Goodness gracious. People were excited online that this is Malachi's Black first sort of proper AEW pay-per-view match.
And I was too, but if I'm being honest, if he had to debut here at Full Gear, I would have just had it been a one-on-one with Pac.
Oh, that would have been incredible. Oh, that's going to be incredible. Malachi Black's entrance, by the way, is otherworldly, Jack.
Yeah.
I love that. And because he had those giant horns, and the first thing I thought was, how is he going to get in the ring? But his ring entrance accommodates for that, Jack. Because he's walking out to the ring, goes black. Lights come back up, and he's standing on the corner. Lights go out. Lights come back up, and he's already sitting in the ring. All of the awkward moments that would take away from his character are hidden in darkness.
Yeah, and it's just a visual beauty when you see him walking out. It's like the pure darkness, the light behind him so you can see his silhouette, and you just see him walking with those giant horns, and that's all you see walking down. And his entrances have been like just so amazing throughout his time that he spent here in AEW. And I like that, even though by the end of the matches they're always usually gone, but the story that he's trying to tell, where the paint on one side of his face just continues to grow, essentially telling the story that the darkness is taking over, or at least that's what I think he's trying to tell through that paint.
Yeah.
He's definitely got one of the best aesthetics out there for a wrestler.
Not to be outdone in the aesthetics, though. Cody Rhodes with another really elaborate entrance as well.
Yeah, and man, you talk about go away heat, man. Does Cody Rhodes have that more than anyone?
Hey Jack, did you realize that in this tag team match of Malachi Black and Andrade versus Pac and Cody Rhodes, 75% of the participants are former NXT heavyweight champions?
I just realized that looking at that.
Isn't that just the wildest?
Yeah, that is crazy to think, especially when I saw the statistic that like someone mentioned that like 7 out of like the last 9 NXT champions have all like not there anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, I mean, nothing to take away from all 4 men involved, but like looking at the build to it, and then like the match itself, though it was fine, it really did feel like more of a TV match than a pay-per-view type match to me.
I know what you mean, especially like thinking about how it ended. It didn't really resolve anything.
Yeah, like, you know, it really I want to say like it makes it seem like the story's just going to continue, much to the detriment of the fans, essentially.
Do you think Cody's going to turn?
I have a feeling that's where they're going, despite his claims that that's not where it's going. Like, it feels like, you know, he's kind of specifically doing that just to really throw people off.
Yeah, I hope he turns, because I hope this is all a part of an elaborate turn, because it would be really great.
Yeah.
I just, I don't get why I'm supposed to root for him. You know what I mean? Like, is it because I'm not American enough?
I feel you, sir. I definitely feel similar at times. Like, I don't know. He's really in an awkward position where it's like, you want to say at some points maybe the fans like wrongfully turn on him, but at the same time it's like, no, it's like he's done enough to where like it warrants sometimes the fans turning on him, you know? Like if I remember correctly, him, like when they announced him versus Malachi for the 3rd time, I was like, I don't even want to really tune in for this. Like, Malachi should be moving on to bigger and better. And
you know why I didn't want him to face Malachi for that 3rd time? Because I knew it was going to be Cody getting his win back. You know what I mean? Because Malachi had 2 on him. And I go, no, man, cut your losses. Move on. Challenge for the TNT title or something. But, like, you look at Cody, like, his time at AEW, right? Like, I don't know. What has he done to build up people? It's hard to, and I want to hold him accountable for that, because he's such an established star, Like, if he's not going to Omega it and, like, reign as champion for a year, I don't know, man. Like, what are you doing? You beat, what's his name? He beat that British guy. He introduced QT Marshall into the world, and I'll never forgive him for that, And, like, I love the meme I sent you where the WWE's video game career mode is going to be, start at the Indies, get drafted at NXT, become champion, get let go to AEW, feud with Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, it seems like that's almost the motto each time for a lot of these guys. And I think that's like the big complaint people have. It's just, it almost in a sense at times feel like it's putting him into the spotlight when they feel he should step back a bit.
You know what it is, maybe? The Young Bucks are the same way and suffer from the same thing, but they had the decency to turn heel. And this guy is, like, refusing to unjustifiably. Stop it, Cody. You're the one-person Young Bucks. Turn heel.
Yeah, and you want to think he's self-aware at times of this, but then there's other times where it's like the man doesn't seem like he's aware of it at all.
So we got a lot of, aggressive blind tags on both sides. I thought the both sides thing was interesting, where, like, we knew that going in, Pac doesn't like Cody, and Cody's, like, he's only working with Pac out of necessity. But you knew that there was so much bad blood between Malachi and Andrade.
Yeah, especially because it seemed like from the past weeks, it was like they were fine working together, but all of a sudden there was issues here. Now it's like it was kind of confusing, but like we say, the finish makes you think that this is going to continue partly longer than maybe it should have.
I honestly thought Pac was going to turn on Cody and join this like anti-Cody club.
Yeah, it seemed that way too, and especially because it's like, if I remember the finish, it's like it ends in a brawl again, where like, all these people come out to like help one another.
Cody and Malachi Black go over the barricade, and Pac hits the red arrow on Andrade. And then, yes, you're right. After the match, we get one of the FTR members to like come out and give it to Cody Rhodes again for some reason.
Yeah. So,
not both FTR members, which has me worried.
Yeah, that was definitely a worrying thing too. But decent enough match, but kind of like almost in a sense like the American Top Team match. It almost feels like one of those ones where it's like, man, you're kind of going with this longer than you should have. Like the Orange Cassidy Matt Hardy feud is one of those two where people are like, this is going on way longer than it should have.
Agreed.
Yeah, but gotta see where that's going. And in turn, vice versa, a match that was built very shortly, but people are wanting it to continue way past even this match and hoping to see, a bit more. We get CM Punk versus Eddie Kingston.
Yes, indeed. It required no build, you know what I mean, because of the men involved. And I'll tell you what, Jack, I don't think there was a lack of build at all. We're talking about 15 years in the making, Jack.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to hear their promos each time?
Yes, and I heard a couple of talking heads pontificate on the validity of Eddie Kingston's claims, and one of them goes, "Oh, it's 100% true," because I heard CM Punk gave the business to Eddie Kingston and to Kevin Owens about their weight and their physique and their work ethic in Ring of Honor.
Yeah, it was interesting to see that brought up, especially a lot of the names and like, the promo between them. I thought it was really well, and like it really sold a lot of people on the match. Like it was. That one promo on Rampage was enough to sell a lot of people on this match and willing to tune in for it on this show.
Yeah, I don't know if I heard CM Punk say it on that Rampage show, but I think he says it later. He outright just says he's unsafe, and I was like, yes, this is. You just say it. Do you mean it? Who cares? It's gonna get under Eddie Kingston's skin,
Yeah, and like especially because like the part that gets really on Eddie Kingston is when he calls him a bum.
Ooh, well, I think that was a little forced. You know what I mean? Who calls anybody a bum? But like to call him unsafe, right?
Yeah.
To say he's not a good wrestler, that's something else, something entirely different, right? Something that like is like factually wrong,
Yeah, and I think another aspect of it too that I really liked that they threw into there was when Eddie Kingston in that promo tells him, nobody wants you here, nobody ever has. No one in the back is brave enough to tell you, but I'll tell it straight to you that we don't want you here. And it's like, I want to see them, especially if they're going to bring in a couple more guys, like if they are to bring in more, guys who have been released. I want to see them leaning in more to like the real life aspect of like saying like, hey, we're kind of angry with this because, hey, it means you're taking our spots in here.
I get you. I hear you. Yeah, no, there's a lot of like easy storytelling to do with that from that angle.
Yeah, and easy storytelling. This match was just about that, as both men were hell bent on destroying each other. They didn't care about, even though it was a regular match, they were just going all out, striking each other. And that's how the match starts, is they're lined up, and Kingston hits Punk with the spinning back fist before the bell even rings.
Jack, this is the shortest match of the night, clocking in at 11 minutes, but it was pretty hard hitting for 11 minutes.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this match for what it was.
It was violent, and CM Punk got all cut up, all bloodied. You know what I mean? Like, Eddie Kingston was gonna make him, was gonna make him put respect on his name.
Yeah, and man, there was just really good moments, and like honestly, it was a crazy match because of like the fact that like it was so evenly split on like people voting for Punk, people voting for Kingston, and as I mentioned with the Bryan Danielson match, it was similar here where people were like Eddie should be the one to give Punk his first loss in AEW.
I was rooting for Eddie for sure, and you know what? It should be sort of said that all night, right? No one, I don't think, looks bad in defeat. You know.
Yeah.
And, like, that's a testament to this company and what they're doing, the matches they're creating. Like, whether Eddie Kingston wins or loses, he's going to come out better for it.
Yeah, you know.
Because how easily could we have booked a squash, you know?
Yeah.
How easily could, like, Miro have squashed Bryan Danielson or vice versa? But no, everybody comes out looking really good, including the gentleman of this match. How good was it? It's funny that people ask, why did CM Punk do what he did? At this point, I know that like he does things just to get a reaction. So he does the like a backbreaker and jumps up with his hand up like a certain somebody, and everybody in that arena knows exactly what he's doing, and he stands there and he relishes in the reaction, staring bug-eyed at the camera as if to think, do you see what I'm doing?
Yeah, it was so funny, and like even Punk after a match was like, I just do stuff to mess with people.
Yes, I want that to be his character, Jack. I want him to be the guy who just messes with people.
Yeah, and you know, I'm gonna be honest, though I would have been fine with either man winning, I really wanted Kingston to win to further the story that it seems like Punk has been telling, and that is the unsureness of whether he can keep up with the modern day times. You know, being gone for 7 years, you know, it was like he barely squeaked out that win against Darby. He barely beat, you know, Will Hobbs and stuff, you know. So it was like I really thought from a storyline perspective it would have been good because, you know, like they mentioned last year this time Kingston was main eventing Full Gear with Moxley, you know, so it's like he's technically one of their main event talents, and what a story it would have been if the first time stepping up to what is considered a main event talent, you know, or like one of the people who has main evented, it's like Punk loses. Like it would have been a good story, but again, neither man looked weak, and Kingston definitely did not look weak in defeat here.
Bring back the main event mafia.
What the? Why did Mac evoke the main event mafia?
I guess it's because I was saying main event.
Well, to build on your point, Jack, about Eddie Kingston looking strong in defeat, CM Punk seemingly has a new kind of respect for Eddie Kingston because he holds out his hand to do a handshake, Jack, a sign of honor from Ring of Honor. And does Eddie Kingston reciprocate?
No, he immediately walks out.
Immediately walks out the ring. Maybe prolonging this feud a bit more, but looking at CM Punk going, I don't need your handshake. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, really, really good match, to say the least. And man, it was like, I looked at this match, the Darby match, and a match we'll get to soon. I was like, man, and here I was thinking I had my list solidified 2 months before we get to it.
I'll tell you what, Jack, nothing in this card actually made my list, but I definitely watched intently, looking for something to add to my list as well.
Yeah, especially like, I can say maybe one of these maybe changed my mind, but it was like, the rest it was like, it's going to be like honorable mention, like, would have maybe made the list had this match not existed.
I see. This might have been, actually, now that you mention it, my favorite of all the CM Punk matches.
Yeah.
I think easily, actually.
Yeah. Really good. And then we move on to a match that, like we said, is one of those where it's like, it feels like it's gone on longer than maybe the fans thought it should have. Had the Inner Circle versus Ethan Page, Scorpio Sky, Junior Dos Santos, Andre Orlovsky, and Dan Lambert, essentially 3 members of American Top Team versus the Inner Circle.
I'll tell you what, Jack, I like Ethan Page, and he's a really good talker, and I'm really excited when I hear him promo. I officially checked out for this match. I wasn't even going to try, Jack. I was on Instagram, and if you follow me on Instagram, this is exactly when I started posting my pictures of my Eddie Guerrero tribute door. We didn't say this before, though, but CM Punk also paid tribute to Eddie Guerrero. I think it makes 3 total. Oh, because there's one in this match.
Yeah, there was a ton of Eddie Guerrero references, and I remember I think it was during this match. My dad asked me about it, like if it was the anniversary, and that's why I told him. And that's why I told him it's very, who knows, maybe like it probably is just a big coincidence, but it's like it's the anniversary, and they were in the same town of where it happened.
Oh, I had no idea it happened in Minneapolis.
Yeah,
Leaping Lizards. So, yep, Jack, this has gone on for way too long, and I don't know. Like, Jack, do you ever think about the kid? Like, what faction was all the rage in your formative years? Not to say you're not in your formative years now.
I think during my formative years, probably the faction, I want to say almost the Shield.
I was going to guess the Shield for you, right? And for me, it was DX or NWO, if you were into that sort of thing. Right? It was DX. It hit just at the right time. For you, it was maybe the Shield. Can you imagine the kids growing up who are going to grow up like 20 years from now and look for their Inner Circle gear? Gosh. Ugh.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah. There's not much to say about this except like the 2 guys from American Top Team were really green. I mean, one of the guys hits a moonsault, but like other than that, they were really green, and it was really confusing that it's a street fight, and yet they started off with tags and doing like basic wrestling before it devolved into actual street fighting.
Weird. Dan Lambert is another guy like MJF who like has got that Cartman sense of humor. You know what I mean? Let me make fun of like your sexuality because that's okay to do in 2021. You know?
Yeah.
Or let me make fun of your like body dysmorphia. It's, you know, tired and worked 30 years ago, but here we are. So he does things, I guess, maybe.
You know who else is like that? The Acclaimed. I forgot they popped out on the buy-in.
Yes, I agree. At least they rhyme. And at least they kind of are self-aware. I like their line about we're gonna break your legs and send you packing like your brother. That was a deep-o cut on Dante Martin.
Yeah.
But no, I get you. Like, same can be said about Hit Row on SmackDown. Like, it kind of easily devolves into like bathroom trash talk, locker room, like not just locker room, middle school locker room trash talk.
Yeah, and you know, this match almost, I want to say it was like just like a mess because it's like they had so many different things out there. They had a toaster being used,
Yep.
Skis, hockey sticks, you know, and like the one thing I just like,
Minneapolis.
Yeah, and like the one thing I just didn't get was like, why are like the 2 supposed like, you know, shoot fighters not doing more shoot fighting and, you know, asserting dominance? And of course, Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky are taking up most of the offense because they're the only actual wrestlers on that team that can take that offense properly. Speaking of which, taking offense properly, what's it called? Scorpio Sky's the one to take that giant swanton from freaking Guevara off that I want to say almost 20-foot ladder.
Yep, and Ethan Page takes a claw from the 81-year-old Baron Von Raisch who's sitting ringside.
Yeah, and then, of course, the main finish of the match is what they've been trying to predict, you know, is Lambert's in the ring, and that's when Jericho gets to him, beats him up, hits him with the frog splash as tribute to Eddie Guerrero for the win.
Third tribute to the man. I was a little tributed out. And, you know, hard to say who gets to tribute him. If you had to pick, Jack, between the Lucha Brothers, CM Punk, and Chris Jericho, who would you say got who got the honor of paying tribute to him?
See, it's a bit tough because it's like each each three kind of have their own reasonings for it, obviously.
It's true. I thought of that too.
You know,
Jericho literally wrestled him. CM Punk admired him. And Lucha Brothers are, maybe a different kind of admiration,
Yeah, Lucha Bros being Hispanic as well, probably grew up watching Eddie, so there's their reasoning. As you mentioned, Punk admired him, and I think Punk even wrestled him because I think, remember, if we go back to when we were discussing All Out, when Punk talked about wearing the tights, he was saying it was tribute to Eddie because Eddie was the one that really helped a lot of the indie guys get their name out
the
early days. And then obviously, Jericho's the one that mainly wrestled him a lot in both WCW, WWE, so it's like, I want to, out of all of them, I guess I might want to give it to Jericho just because he's the one that knew him the most, got to wrestle him the most,
So, I wonder, do we pay tribute to the man during a championship match, during a grudge match, or during whatever the heck this was?
Yeah, I think that's my only complaint is, yeah, Jericho makes the most sense, but then you look at the match and you're just like, eh.
Eddie's looking on from the afterlife going, thanks, Chris. Thanks for shouting me out after this heaping pile of garbage.
And
then, how much time we got?
13 minutes.
Perfect.
And because I really want to talk about the main event, I will make this short. Tony Schiavone comes out and confirms debuting tonight is Jay Lethal.
Yes. He is all elite and immediately challenges Sammy Guevara for the TNT Championship. Goodness gracious, Leaping Lizards. Both of them.
Yeah, and to real quickly kind of make sense of this all, for those who haven't seen, the news came out that ROH is taking a break of some sorts, but yet all the talent are free after the end of this year.
Yeah, they got one more show in December, and then they're going to take 3 months to restructure. In that meantime, a lot of talent are being picked up and, signed in different places. Their heavyweight champion, Jay Lethal, is now all elite.
Mm-hmm. And so he's going to show up here, and, based off of being all elite, you assume he's going to be there for more matches. Another, I don't want to say, no disrespect to Jay Lethal, but, based on where he's at in his career, especially seeing as that he wanted to end his career with ROH, it's a semi-big, signing for the company, but it seems more like, getting more of those vets to help out the younger guy type moves and also let Lethal finish out his career.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we get on to our main event, the most hyped up match. I want to say essentially 3 years of build for this one moment, this one match. And that is the AEW World Championship match. Kenny Omega defending against Hangman Adam Page.
Former tag team champions, former friends, now bitter enemies, vying for the company's top prize.
Yeah. Omega holding it for almost an entire year. Hangman, who has been trying to get this title for 3.
Mm-hmm.
And, man, this match was just, the whole build to it was just crazy. All the twists and turns that we got. And the amount of excitement and anxiety I had while watching this match. Because, like I said, the Danielson match happened, and I was just like, I don't doubt them. I don't believe they'll throw away such long-term story building for, another, Omega Danielson match. But there's that bit of me that feels they could.
Even just the shock, twist, you know what I mean? Because we all went in thinking this is Hangman's night.
Yeah, and they really played it up because you saw that entrance. It's him riding on a horse throughout the outside streets of Minneapolis to the arena, and they're showing all the moments. When he failed to first win that title at All Out. When he failed to beat. I think they showed when he failed to beat Omega and the Bucks in that like elimination match.
I think so. Mm-hmm.
Basically showing all these moments of failure, and then also showing the recent promo he had where he states, I'm going to go to Full Gear and I'm going to give it my all.
Compare Saturday night to when he challenged, was it Moxley? Or was it, he challenged for the title once before. I think it was Jericho.
Yeah.
And, like, the crowd is so much more behind him now than we're behind him then.
Mm-hmm.
Really exciting, just the popularity that he's gained.
Yeah, and the even crazier part, the man used to be a teacher and would wrestle on the weekends. And yet, here he is now, all these years later.
And so here we are. The main event, Don Callis, the wily rascal in his very flamboyant suit, getting involved in every possible way and making Jack's heart skip a beat, thinking, oh gosh, who's going to help Hangman, though?
Yeah, in the back of my mind, I'm like, Callis is basically to Omega what the Usos are to Roman.
Very much so. Yes, sir.
And there was many moments where I was expecting the Bucks to come out like they usually do as well.
What were some spots that stood out to you, Jack?
I have to say there was some spots where they were doing the dives to the outside that looked kind of rough, and I was like, oh man, they're really going all out for some of these dives.
Agreed.
Yeah, and then there was a point where Page hits a moonsault, and for a second I thought when he was hitting that moonsault to the outside he was gonna taunt Omega by doing the moonsault that Ibushi usually does. Especially because I don't know if you caught it, but there was a fan with a sign at ringside that even though they caught on the camera of Omega staring into it, a fan had a sign that said, "What would Kota do?"
No, what would Kota think?
Oh yeah, something like that. Like it was like, what would Kota think? And it's like really playing up that element of bringing up his past.
Yeah, and like really like focusing in on like this turn to this dastardly villainous, champion.
Yeah, and some other spots are the suplexes both men were throwing out where they were like inches away from like landing straight on their dome Kota Ibushi style.
Yep. Hangman does what would you call it? It wasn't a fall away slam because he held on to Kenny Omega from the top rope.
Oh yeah, he did that suplex. That was crazy to me.
That was a good one.
And then there was like the different V triggers that Omega was hitting to him on the rope.
Oh yeah. He goes for the one-winged angel. Hangman wiggles out and hits one of his own.
Yeah, and it was funny because like a couple minutes before that, I brought up to my dad as he was watching this. I was like, by the way, just so you know, Omega's move, the one-winged angel, has never been kicked out of, and there's the prospect of, hey, what if Hangman kicks out of it? And then like a couple minutes later, this happens, and Omega kicks out of the one-winged angel that Hangman delivered.
Yeah. There was a flying clothesline off the apron or the top rope into that table.
Oh, yeah, that spot was crazy, too. And then there's the one where Hangman hits the Deadeye, but the ref is down, and then Aubrey comes like out sprinting, doing her best Charles Robinson.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was really good as well, and then basically the spot of the night is, I forget what happened to Callis. I feel like he got taken out at some point.
Yeah, he's in the ring. I think he's wielding the belt, and Hangman decks him. He's in the ring. He's, completely exposed and vulnerable, and Hangman knocks him out.
Yeah.
But all the meanwhile, Omega is positioning himself to hit Page with the belt, but he ducks it.
Yeah, and I think that's where he hits him with the Deadeye, but then the ref comes, the other Aubrey comes down.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, and then finally the spot of the night, the Bucks come limping out from their previous match, and at this point I was like, I like when the ref went down, I was thinking that's when the Bucks are coming, but then I see them coming out, but then I see them limping out. I'm like, I don't think they're coming here to interfere with the way they're limping out here.
I was completely convinced they could. You know what I mean? Like, they definitely could. Both men take one side of the ring, very ominously just positioning themselves too close to the action for my comfort.
Yeah, and, he hits the first buckshot, but Omega's not looking at Hangman, so he gets hit in the back of the neck, and that's when he goes over on the other side to hit it this time, so he hits him from the front like the actual buckshot lariat is. And that's when the camera shows, I think it's Matt Jackson is like looking at him, and you just see him kind of give that slight little like, yeah, go ahead, Hangman. Like, we're not gonna do anything this time. We know there's nothing really we can do to prevent this. They let him go through with it. Hits Omega. 1, 2, 3.
Goodness, the commentary shouted out that the last time Hangman challenged for the title, the Bucks refused to go out in his corner. And this seemed to be closing the loop on that story, like that they were there in his corner after all.
Yeah, and what a fantastic match, fantastic storytelling, story building. I will say there was a selfish part of me that wanted to see Hangman kick out of a one-winged angel just to add to the match.
You and a lot of people, but I took that to mean that Omega has a claim to the title still because he thinks perhaps that all he needed to put him down was to hit that move. Because he couldn't hit the move, he lost.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely an excellent storytelling bit to it. And, this whole match, even the post celebrations and all of it, just really added on to that storytelling.
I was super excited that the Dark Order came out to celebrate with them and that he welcomed them into the ring, that they did the hug, that they hoisted them on his shoulders. The Dark Order's role in this whole story has been so funny and great.
Yeah, and I think the best story bit also is that they try and offer him a beer to celebrate, and adding on to the story of instead of celebrating and confiding in friends, he would instead drink and turn towards alcohol. This time, as he wins the title, he throws it away to celebrate with the people who were there supporting him.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, and so finally, a 3-year journey, 2 years worth of storytelling in terms of Omega and Hangman come to a conclusion as we finally get Hangman as the champion. And what a pay-per-view it had been.
What a pay-per-view, Jack. How much time we got?
About 2 minutes and 15 seconds.
Got it. I thoroughly enjoyed this show. I would say even more so than All Out.
Yeah, most definitely. Definitely enjoyed it more than All Out. And, that's slight bias. Just because of what happened.
Again, like, none of the matches tonight are going to make my top 10 matches of the year list, but it was a night filled with very satisfying storytelling and action.
Yeah, most definitely.
Very grateful for. These matches that I'm going to go back and look up later. Maybe not, but no, it's, you know what I mean? A very satisfying edition of this company's pay-per-views.
Yeah, and though I don't want to end on a negative note, I will throw this out before we finish with about 1minute and 25 seconds left. AEW, please get a better streaming service.
Oh my. You were watching on Bleacher Report Live?
Yeah, I had a couple instances where it made me have to refresh. I didn't have this issue when they did it with Fight, but
yes,
Bleacher Report most definitely had this issue. If they can find a way to get Fight permanently, I'd much prefer that, but Bleacher had a couple issues. It was almost as bad as Peacock at some points.
Well, Jack, I appreciate you having me tonight, and I look forward to talking about Survivor Series with you, perhaps next week.
Yeah, and, though might not have had the build that these pay-per-view had, you can still expect it to be well, especially in terms of match quality. But with that being said, I've been your host, Jack, joined by my fellow guest,
Mr. Solis.
I want to thank you all for joining us for another episode of Season 2 of the Road 34 podcast. As always, if it exists, we have an opinion on it. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next episode.